are bright and early in Shinshabashi today, and we finally got on the waiting list to have crab later. It's almost 12, so not too bad. Only around an hour wait. Yay! We're gonna go have some gyoza first while we wait. And apparently this is a really popular store too.
So if you want my honest opinion, the gyozas were good. The skin was very thin and the bottom was nice and crispy, as you can see here, which is essential to a good gyoza. This is a 2-person order, and then my friend also got a rice dish, and she knew we were having crab, but she was just starving at this point, so she had to order it. Even though I was pleased with the exterior, and I'm only being critical of this because I had a ton of really good food in Japan and the store was very well known, the inside of the gyoza was average. It had a good amount and there was a nice ratio of meat to vegetables, but I can honestly say that I've had equally good gyoza in Richmond and in other places. If you don't get to have a good gyoza where you are and you really want that experience, I would recommend this place. But otherwise, I would reserve your food quota for something more special since Japan does not lack in delicacies. I'm such a fan of anything fried, so when there was fried wontons on the menu, I just had to get them, and I enjoyed these as much as I did the gyozas. The skin is a little thicker because it's a fried batter, and I believe the filling was identical to the gyoza. It came with a small packet of mustard to dip in. Again, I'm not saying the food here was bad, it just wasn't something that I knew I could only get in Japan. However, if you are a big gyoza fan, do try this place out if you are in the area.
So one of Osaka's main icons is this Running Man figurine, which I'm not quite sure what it stands for. I haven't found out yet, but I think it's really interesting that they have all these different merchandise that show his face. Like these are lollipops, and then there's little erasers, and then a pen. Probably the nicest place I've been to so far in Japan. They make you take off your shoes again, but it's for good reason. And I think all their decor is so cute. Like a little crab. And the view is really nice too. And there's an iPad menu that you can scroll through in different languages. So this is the online menu of the languages. So impressed.
I ended up getting one of the set lunches, and I believe it was the akan for 2,700 yen, and my friend got a non-lunch set with crab hot pot as the main dish. The first dish for my set lunch was the boiled crab with sweet vinegar, and it's a very simple dish to really let you taste the natural flavors of the crab. It was a good starting dish because it's mild in flavor, but you can really taste the crab is of good quality, and it's not frozen for too long or anything like that. And just look at the presentation, it's absolutely gorgeous. How could you not want to eat it? The second dish is crab sashimi, and it is one of the dishes I still think about from time to time. It was one of my favorites because it was just so soft and juicy and fresh. I know some people don't like the idea of raw meat, but this was an absolute favorite of mine, and when I go back to Japan, I will want to order this again. This was a steamed egg custard with crab, and I love egg custards. I know it sounds like I like a lot of food, but I do, and egg custard is one of them, so it was obviously great. However, if we are talking a full crab meal, then this wasn't on the top of the list of my favorites in this meal, just because I felt like the crab flavor could have been stronger, and it just tasted like any other delicious egg custard as opposed to a crab egg custard. Next is the crab gratine, and oh my gosh, just look at the little pot with the crab. It was so cute, but it was also very interesting. I didn't expect to taste such a Western dish for the crab meal, and the smell, look, and taste of this took me by surprise. There was pasta in the dish, and it had a very strong, creamy, cheesy flavor. Again, I felt like it overpowered the crab taste a little bit, but it was nice to have something that had a little more filling and substance after all those delicate dishes beforehand. Crab tempura was up next, and just looking at the dish, you knew it was going to be delicious. Just the right amount of batter, and even though it was fried, I could still taste the crab, and it had a nice firm texture to it. I think nicely done tempura isn't really heavy or greasy at all. It can still be considered a very delicate dish. My friend's hot pot dish finally arrived at this point, and let me tell ya, if I could have a fragrance that smelled like the crab in that water, that would probably be a bad idea since I'd be hungry all the time. Such a simple method, such deliciousness, I do not understand. If it were not for the fact that I wanted to have crab in at least 5 different ways, this would have been my first choice based on smell alone. Final crab dish of the meal was the sushi and the clear soup. Again, in this cute little crab design bowl, I was about ready to steal some utensils. This soup didn't taste like crab, but it didn't have the flavor that I usually get from miso soup, so I'm not sure what it was made of, but it was very rich and had like a darker complexity as opposed to miso soup. I'm not trying to sound pretentious. I have no idea what I'm trying to say. I hope you knew what I was trying to say when I said that. The crab sushi was a good way to end the meal because it was refreshing and it's considerably lighter, but it's not the star of the show for me. That already made an appearance early on and with the hot pot, but it was still very good. Last but not least, I got fruit! It was a bit of a rare sight for me to see this because fruit in Japan is quite expensive, so I was very grateful that they had this for dessert.
You can. Even the ceiling is crab.
So ends another delicious meal in Japan, and the crab one was one of my most memorable ones, so I hope you enjoyed it as much as it pained me to edit the footage, knowing that I can't have it whenever I want. I take back what I said earlier. I actually had the Asahi meal for 4,968 yen, and it included more dishes than the Akani dish. The setup for this restaurant, named Kani Doranku, I hope I'm not butchering that, is very similar to the pufferfish store in that there's a lot of set meals to choose from, but if I were given a chance to go back to one right now, it would hands down be Kani Doranku. Having multiple stores, if everyone thought it was as delicious as I did, I'm sure you will be looking at some long wait times to try this place out regardless of location. I felt the setup of the surroundings was lovely, and each dish was gorgeous if not delicious. I'm not going to say that each dish blew my mind, but I do think that as an experience overall, I had a very enjoyable time, and my only regret is that the dishes weren't big enough. So that's it for today's video. I hope you will subscribe and join me on my next adventure. See you next video!